Glenn, I am live. No, 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 you don't know about this. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. I'm doing a series of 6 vlogs today related to how it's very easy to chart how many people suffer from HSD and how they choose on purpose to be unaware of it. And when they become slightly aware of it, they choose on purpose not to work on it. And they choose to kind of avoid the subject as much as possible. This one was supposed to be about Uganda, but I can't find the pictures right now that were taken when I was given a free course on part of even one basic counseling skill. So it'll have to be a two-part on Uganda. But I did find some things I can open up here and maybe talk about, maybe one at a time. Oh, okay, yeah. Hey, can you see this? I don't know what you can see here right now because I can't see my screen. But anyways, these are just countries uh, that have French speaking mostly. So they've been colonized by the French. I don't know if France has a queen, and they could apologize to all these guys. But anyways, I was in Uganda here, right there. The equator is pretty much right there. Okay, close this one and open another one. This is biographical. Oh, hey, you know what? I think that's the flag of Antarctica, and it's melting right now. So in essence, all nations of the world are attacking Antarctica and reducing its borders, and that's a crime against the biosphere right there. I don't know. Nobody's talking about that. I think you need to find the elusive Homo sapien to start talking about these kind of things. What's the next one here? Oh, that's going to be an interesting vlog later on the hypocrisy in Canada. This one is specifically British Columbia, on people claiming to be for the human rights of others and how we're so great at having all these organizations that make sure to protect it. It's a real disappointing joke, but it's going to be a vlog at a later time. Yeah, the people primates thinking they've mastered human rights. This one is Uganda right here. Okay, and you can see, this is Lake Victoria. It's touching a few countries here, and with this one, you see a little bit more like they can grow a lot of food all year round, pretty much here, right? Food is one of the things that makes us rich. I mean, a lot of countries are struggling with food. What the hell? I'm in Japan here, and I'm not even close to being the tallest guy. Look, I'm actually on the couch, and I'm not even close to being the tallest guy there. And I'm pretty much 5'8". So, when you hear things like it's a super clean place, Japan, or people are short that you're going to see there, well, these are pretty weird generalizations that I've found plenty of evidence was not accurate. Oh, the Rocketeers! Martin here was one of the sponsors for this tournament that I organized. And one of these students had such a good attitude for being a lifelong learner that I'm actually going to show the gift I gave her after. Oh, that's it. So I entered one tournament that was part of a masters of different age categories. And then I went to the provincials after. And of course, I turns out I didn't need to do this, but I asked somebody to be my partner that was very good. And I didn't even need to because the age category I was in at the time didn't have a lot of competition. I could have entered maybe, you can't enter older than you. You can only enter younger than you. And in that category, I was already near the bottom age for those older categories. Doesn't mean they weren't good players. I just couldn't reach them with my age. So I was in this category and I won the doubles, and I gave this to my student. It has my name on it, but she wanted it. And you know what? She deserved it for her attitude, which was a wonderful thing for me to also learn from, right? Because I was not just their badminton coach, I was their life skills coach. I was a driving instructor to some of them, different things. And also, I was promoting lifelong learning. And that means lifelong teaching, and that means everybody's like this. I'm not the only one. They would be like this as well. And she role modeled it pretty well with her attitude. One of these girls, when she missed a shot, she would say again, She wanted me to keep feeding her to bird so she could practice it. This is me where I was sleeping 3 nights in a row at the Vancouver airport, and the RCMP didn't really notice. I think I knew more about them, interviewing them and questioning them. And then I'd walk away. Who is that guy? And then they'd go back to their boring conversation about how ridiculous the training was that they took. Anyway, so this was me being there a long time, waiting to have enough money come into my account for a ticket that I could afford to try to leave Canada to, again, in my independent research as a case study, trying to look for the elusive Homo sapien. And I tell you, that was not super comfortable to sleep in for 3 nights in a row. And I didn't want to go 4 nights because, there was somebody that was doing security that had a notebook and taking notes. He wasn't RCMP, but he was more on the job than the RCMP was. So he would maybe and then I might not have had the money. So I'm glad that I eventually decided, oh man, 3 nights in a row, I don't push for a cheaper ticket. You can actually afford this one. So leave. It's sad that I'm leaving Canada. It's not the worst country in the world, and I want to keep trying to do that. But I mean, I was born with DNA that wants to be Homo sapien, and I want to find somebody else that follows their DNA. Oh yeah, this lady. How sad it was. This place where she worked, I asked her to take a picture of that particular part of the book. I'll show you. But where she worked actually had by the way, Uganda, 99.999% Christian. They can't even think of how somebody might not be Christian, what that looks like. It gives them a headache to even think of asking a question about how somebody might not be Christian. So that's pretty sad. And look at how Uganda's voting right now with the UN, with like Russia and things like that. And I know they might have their reasons, but it's not the people, the common people. It's the elites that have their reason. And the elites have the same ratio of dishonesty to suffering from HSD to being Christians. So after leaving South Korea, Uganda was the second country where I accumulated enough data to know that it was no longer equal. It was now that religious people are more dishonest than non-religious people. And I'm not talking about her specifically. She was just a nice lady that had a crush on me. And I think most people had a crush on me just because of the color of my eyes and that I had hairy legs. So anyways, this is what it says here. Any species capable of what anthropologists called cold hate may be a species beyond help, but scientists are hopeful that we can change. Oh, if scientists are hopeful, then don't follow the science. Just follow what they can handle based on their limited personal development work, especially as they learn that race, as people understand it, doesn't even exist. So, I'm not the first one to say that. Yeah, speaking of dishonesty and Christianity, there we go. Still have a suitcase there that I can't seem to get back. Oh, my BC niece! I dedicated a song to her for her birthday not that long ago. We didn't even know that we were kind of related until, oh, my Beemer. This is the Beemer I have now, smaller, 750cc, and that I'm hoping to do my part, even in bad weather, to minimize fuel consumption until they make an affordable electric motorcycle that I can actually, not have to wait for 2 years to get. Yeah, this is Cathedral Grove on Vancouver Island. So this is an example of a species that the people primates are committing genocide against. Except that if you talk about that in Canada, the RCMP takes you away. I mean, you can shoot people between, drug dealer gangs, and they don't go work as hard as going to arrest somebody that wants to protect these species from genocide. Oh, this lady is, I would say, one of the ones who showed signs of wanting to pursue her own personal development the most, had intelligence and beauty. And she actually is the one that helped me realize that as hard as she was working on getting better opportunities for herself outside of Uganda, because it's so Christian and so elitist and so greedy and so corrupted because of the religious monetary paradigms and because of a lack of an understanding of what altruism really is, and you don't really get that from Christianity, is she actually allowed me to realize that Uganda is a country that we should all sanction. Except, how do you sanction poor people as a majority? People where food is growing all year round around them, is you have to sanction their elites, and their elites are pretty much Christians. So you want to do this weekend on the special chocolate long weekend? Do you want to start sanctioning Christians for the human rights of ladies and children over there? So it's up to you guys what you want to do, but I'm pretty sure that you're homo communion, you're not homosexual. Oh, that's funny. After I pulled over an OPP officer in the north of Ontario for not doing his job, that was putting construction workers and other road users in jeopardy, and my research showed that the Ministry of Transportation in Ontario was discouraging OPP to pull over trucks that were driving dangerously because of the economy, is more important, is after I saw his mustache when he got out of his car, and I tried not to laugh because I had just seen that Jim Carrey movie, Me, Myself, and Irene, is I decided to let my mustache grow for the Ontario driver's license that I was forced to get, because, people want, no, you got to do it this way, this way, this way. Yeah, no, you have an international driver's license. Still, we don't recognize it in Canada. Between provinces, you have to conform to move money around. It's pretty, oh my God, the people primates and their HSD. This is an extremely beautiful creature going up a beautiful tree. She is one of the most beautiful creatures I've ever seen going up a tree. And I've never met her in person, but I know I would have a very serious circulatory redistribution issue for the first 3 months in the same room with her, I would say, before I get control over that. And I don't want to be more specific about that because it's not about that. This vlog, it's about HSD. I miss this friend so much. I wake up in the morning, and this is not even the house I was taking care of him last time, but he passed away, and it's because of neglect, really. And here I'm trying to eat him because he's such a nice dog. And he totally changed his personality and behavior and attitude with me, and they thought that I had to be harsh with the discipline with him to have done that. And all I did was offer him genuine friendships and teaching him life skills that it would be easier for him to be friends with not just me but others. And so I have to teach humanics to animals like the monkey, Hamper Sandy, him, because the people primates do not want to bother. And the change in him before he died was amazing. Except nobody asks me about this, right? Yeah, so this is the logo of my not-for-profit society, except it's not under not-for-profit because I had too many hoops to jump. So I just put in the title, a philanthropic pursuit. And again, one of the definitions of being a doctor of humanics, based on what I want to choose as a definition, is that if you're a doctor of humanics and humanity is in so much trouble, including the humanity of other species that are at risk from ours, is you can't be doing things for profit. So it's a sole proprietorship, but it is not for profit. So this is where the second supervisor in my master's degree read this quote, and she said, "I don't think I can be your supervisor. To safeguard your own mental health, you must always be mindful that you are not a human living a Gaian experience. On the contrary, you are instead a Gaian having a human experience." The doctor of humanics. So these are a shortened kind of code of ethics for me. Lifelong learning, mimetic awareness. So talking about, how behaviors are, when they're chosen, they're mimicked by others as being acceptable, right, for the norm of that culture. And again, like Glenn was saying, the laws are chosen for more or less what is acceptable at that time for that culture. And most laws in most countries do not reach human standards because we are very low at that. True sustainability, that means it's a short way to say deep ecology, not shallow ecology, which is still what dominates, even though people talk about it, including the so-called experts. And yet they help promote this shallow ecology because, greed, elitism, disconnection from the natural world with their worldviews, holistic systems thinking, freedom by way of leisure. So if we can create societies where we don't need to work so much for our basic needs and there's more time for leisure and the pursuit of the arts or sciences, then that culture is not an evolutionary to them. I do not know of any. So guess if I think that there is a stable proto-civilization on this planet from the people primates. Being accountable in communications and agreements. The sweet and slow pursuit of quality over quantity. Very important to point that out all the time about everything. Oh, this might be getting long. Let's continue a couple more here. Oh, there's a video. This is me volunteering in the Coombs bookstore. I didn't get accepted to be on the volunteer firefighter of that area because I had confidence, pretty much, and yet they don't believe what's coming to protect their families and citizens. So they're going to be screwed. All right, they're going to be like years too late. There's going to be 60% of Canada burns before a little bit more money goes into firefighting or helping immigrants than the military and NATO. It's ridiculous. Anyways, I talk about Uganda here. Except I got to work the top row here. But there's been many that were placed on the top and then they're all tilted over, so it's hard to lift them up. And I see all these children's books that might never be read, and I have an idea to ask for collaboration with here and the schools that I met in Uganda and the embassy. Just the books donated there. It's been done a lot. Okay, and I didn't get a yes from the owner, who kind of doesn't want to let any books go, even 100 years after he's dead, they will not have sold because he's got too many of these children's book duplicates and things like that. It's a little bit of an addiction, to collectionism, if you want to call it that, bordering on what's the other word where people have too many things everywhere, they can't walk around without getting hurt. I still want to volunteer there, so I'm going to limit it at that. I like being around books. Here's a funny story making fun of me a little bit. When I was in Africa, and I call myself a land mammal psychologist, which of course includes the people brain, but also canines, right, to the dogs. When I was in Africa, I was bit by a dog. I was bit on the ass. It kind of hurt, but it was also kind of funny because of kind of realizing what caused the dog to do it. I'd already had experiences with dogs before that day, but I was surprised that mental illnesses are so common with dogs where I was. And I would say most of them, whether they belong to a family or they roam free independently, is most of them have, 2 or 3 types of mental illnesses that that often gravitate around paranoia. I'm going to stop there and talk about 2 quick stories. There's a cat that adopted me there. You might have seen pictures or videos of the cat. The cat was pregnant and had, I think, 3 in the litter when I left. I was told this, although I couldn't get, decent information. And I think 1 died right away, then the second one, then the third one. And what I found sad is that a lot of times, people there would put things in the garbage that was leftover food, and they'd always put it in a bag outside the gated area, and every night some wild animal like dogs go through it. But I found it weird that how the cats brought the kids pleasure, and it actually was some kid's cat somewhere there. Can't remember which one, or if the kid lived further away and didn't play a part in the reading of the Jonathan Livingston Seagull book that I did, but none of them thought to help with a tiny bit of food for this cat's babies to survive. And I think, man, can you believe Christianity leads to such behaviors in a place where food grows all year round, when this cat is trying to protect, and is tired and exhausted and hard to find clean water, and was trying to safeguard these 3 babies that passed away. It is such a sad state of affairs, because it's missing human thinking tools. And I've approached many schools there to offer my services for free. And I just can't do it. It's weird. Everybody's trying to manipulate everything to go a certain way. And it has to be that I'm bringing money into it, not human thinking tools. So again, Christianity is an evolutionary dead end. The other thing I want to say is one time I'm on my porch at night and I see this big tall guy running straight at me. There's no way that it's a little bit on an angle, even from far away, straight at me. And I'm thinking, how do I want to respond here? And I think I chose that I did want to see what would happen if I moved at the last minute. And sure enough, I did. But I was kind of noticing that he wasn't running towards me. At the last second, I noticed he was running away from something and straight at me, so I couldn't see what it was. And then he jumped on my balcony because he just needed to go towards somebody else so somebody else would be eaten. And so he moved at the last second. This guy I never met before on my balcony, and I stood up and dealt with the dog. Okay, it was one or two wild dogs, and he was given a job where he had to put some parts of a roof that they were building away in one pile somewhere at night. I think he had a phone, but he didn't think to use his phone with the flashlight to have less darkness. But he was doing it right beside a fence of this gated area with a hole bigger than this TV, where these families of 5-6 dogs, I think that had a steady kind of more or less a home, and they were always barking, and he was scared of this big, tall, strong guy I never knew. So I offered to go with him and used a flashlight or my phone that had a flashlight and helped him. And he was doing the work for about 5-10 minutes while I was beside the gate, and I was using, tones to calm down the dogs. And even none of them came that close that I could see their faces through that hole in the darkness in the fence. But they knew I was friendly with just the tone that I used. So he was very grateful after, because he did the job where he was going to get paid tomorrow. But it was strange, it was strange because he wasn't learning. And this was not a lion. It was a dog that is more part of their life over there, like most cultures. And yet he hadn't learned how to majoritively make friends with dogs. And yesterday, I was introduced to a dog that doesn't really like guys, especially if the guys are in the homes. And they weren't sure. And I said, oh, no, I'll go outside. And they said, oh, yeah, you're hesitating. You're scared. Yeah, a little bit. And it's normal because that dog's like 100 pounds, a year and a half old. But the dog I'm walking now is so friends with me and so considerate of me, always coming back to check with me, that when he approached, she was between my legs pointing at him, and I was petting her. So she was sending the other dog that she knows, but that I was new to that dog, that she's friends with me. And if he growled, she would have growled back, I'm pretty sure. But he hesitated because she's between my legs and facing him while I'm scratching her what do you call it? Her thigh, And so, that dog that I'm walking with now, again, is improving the humanic skills, right? And but again, as a land mammal, a psychologist, I'm noticing the people primates don't want to learn these humanics for their own safety, and not necessarily from from lions and things like that, but from the people primates or other dogs. And so I was bit in the ass walking away, and I didn't think that the dog would actually when I did a behavior towards somebody else in that small little community of maybe 3 or 4 homes, that this dog would come away from the porch and run my way. Just to be a bit more specific, there is when I passed the home of that dog, where I did do some tones to try for that dog and another one there, and they had a baby. And where I was going to walk, there was a dog beside the neighbor that had 2 babies, and I think the younger one didn't make it after all. And it's strange because they're saying, oh, they're kind of talking about it, but they're not realizing it, that the dog's too skinny, missing water, and really is, you do have access to more than the dog does. You can offer some to the dog, and it won't take away the water that you have access to, because some of it is actually just at a well that you could walk to, right? You don't have to go to a store to buy bottled water, and the dog can handle that. But there's no thinking of helping other animals. Anyways, the dog bit me when I was past already and going towards a child and the mother that I knew they invited me. They were happy to see me, except that dog, by momentum, started running. And this is pretty much exactly what happened with Will Smith, by the way. Once he got up, with what everybody saw was a particular stance, he was committed. And he was actually laughing, trying, because I think he thought it looked cool the way he did the slap, and it was not that impactful to Chris because he was changing. This is a mistake, but I can't stop myself. And his smile after was, man, I'm going to have to be friends with him after. And really, I don't think he'll ever really get trouble from Chris because I think he knew he was on automatic pilot like this dehydrated, hungry, and mentally confused dog was because of HSD over there, right? Because that dog had not developed humanic skills either. So that dog was out of momentum, just continuing their race towards me when they finally decided, even though I wasn't aggressive. And I didn't know even what's coming in the back at that point. I didn't expect, but I didn't expect the dogs had mental illness in that country that I'd never seen in other countries before, in part because of a lack of food. And the food doesn't even have to be things you buy in a store for dogs, by the way, and quality water. And also, because people don't treat dogs well, and they don't, and part of it is not even helping the dogs when it's easy to help the dogs. It's like they'll dispose of food in a way that the dogs have to tear through these bags at night. It's ridiculous. They don't even offer friendship or kindness to these dogs, and they become paranoid. And the song Toto talks about dogs crying at night, and really it is because they're surrounded by people primates with a lack of humanity is, I think, why they're mostly crying. And again, it's 99% Christian. So class F was what I wanted to be sponsored for, and it could have been a volunteer visa in Uganda to return there. And by the way, Uganda is here. And by the way, if you watch the Avengers movie that kind of zooms in really quickly to Wakanda, is you can tell they're using Lake Victoria as the location of Wakanda. Okay, and I've written a few letters to the Ministry of Uganda, or the actually the consulate that is in Ottawa, and this is the same thing you've seen before, right? I've put the blog under New Zealand, and I try to offer my services for long-term commitments of volunteerism in countries. And I guess, you know, they're so full of HSD, they're working on other things that is really their evolutionary dead end, and they don't realize, they don't really want to pay even attention long enough. Okay, so when I find the photos of teaching counseling skills there, I'll talk more about that and what happens when people live an entire life with HSD. It's kind of sad. You don't even get karma, that they will die not even realizing. And this is like the GCC group, is the majority of members are like this. It's sad. I see them. There's a lot of patterns where I see that they are their own worst enemies and they don't realize. So, and it's sad because, like everybody, they kind of are naturally wanting to have good intentions and work on being part of the solution, but they don't realize, in part through HSD, avoiding these kind of conversations or honest feedback to each other, is they don't realize they are in fact easily assessed as being their own worst enemies.